What is happening, people? Hope you are well. Welcome to the show and good evening. As ever, I am your host, Dan Potts, and I've got a couple of guests with me on today. We're going to be joined by Joe Wyman in a little while. He's just finishing up on his stream, and Joe is going to be with us. We have got LB in the house. What you saying, bro?
Yeah, good man. Good. Thank you for having me. I'm sweating because I've just come back from five-a-side. So, people wondering why I'm sweating. I got a red face. That's the reason. I'm not embarrassed to be here. I'm not embarrassed to be a City fan. You know what I mean? There's nothing you can say. I've just been running around for a little bit. That's all.
How'd you get on? Did you win?
Yeah, man. I was a star man, bro. Nah, I wasn't the star man. No, we won. But yeah. There's a lot of the lads are a lot better than me, man. So I just show up and
Humble
smile.
of you, man. Humble of you, bro. Humble of you. Back again is Mr. Pete Davey from Loaded Mag NUFC. What are you telling me, Pete?
Yeah, all good, all good. I'd said to you before it came live, it's been a while. I ain't been on for a while, so it's been it's good to join you boys for a bit of an old football chat.
Yeah, man. It's always a pleasure, man. Always a pleasure to have you both on. And we're going to start with a few things because I can't lie. It's been a little bit of a busy couple of days. There's outgoings, there's incomings, there's business starting to happen now. Nothing mental, if I'm honest with you. But there has been a couple of really good signings and a bit of news today. I wanted to start with the Marcus Rashford thing because obviously it's a new contract. And I was speaking to LB and Saeed about it earlier. We touched on it. But Pete, let's come to you on this one, man. It's a hell of a lot of money. We're being told it's between 350 to 400k a week. Marcus Rashford is now the Manchester United number one. De Gea is now gone. He was on 375. I believe Jadon Sancho's on around 350 or 325, something like that. Anybody who now joins Manchester United is going to want 400k plus. That's all I'm saying. Because Manchester United need players of quality that's going to get them to a stage of title challenging, whether it's Harry Kane or whether it's, a player that's a lower level to that. Is this a good thing for Manchester United or is it crazy money and it's not such a good thing? Where do you stand on it, man? Big up,
I'll
Joe.
be honest with you. Yes, Joe. I'll be honest with you. I don't see it. I think it's too much for me. I don't know personally if he's justified that sort of money. I'm not sure, if I'm honest with you. Like, I get it. He's an academy boy. He had interest clearly. PSG were interested in him. There's a few others apparently. I don't know what clubs there were that in England that were interested in him and were willing to pay him more. Apparently, I'm not sure about that. I think PSG probably would have paid him more, but I'm not sure that any other Premier League team would have paid Marcus Rashford more than between 350 and 400 grand a week. He said.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not convinced on that personally. I think he's 25 now, and he had a great season last season by his standards. I'd be saying I want to see that again if I'm going to justify paying you that sort of money. Now, I believe his contract was running down, which is I think why they were desperate to do it this season. But I would have probably paid him probably around 250, 275, and said, look, you want that next grade up, earn it. But
that's you, LB. You wanted me to share this. Oh, you've gone on mute. I can't now hear you.
Oh yeah, it's your show. You don't have to share it if you don't want. But I just think that a little bit of context. These are Manchester United fans. No problem with the fans. But many years ago, they held this flag up to Manchester City. Our players make history. Your players make money. Now, all I'm going to say is, just be careful. Be careful what you say, boys. You know what I mean? Because people got receipts for everything nowadays. And how the tables have turned, boys. You know what I mean? They're giving Rashford possibly more than Haaland, possibly the same as Haaland. You know what I mean? Like, this is just crazy scenes. And you're right, Dan, 100% right. It's going to make players who they sign, if they're buying like big players, I'm not talking about the Hoylands and that. I'm talking about like if they're going for like, the Haalands of this world and them sort of players. I mean, if Rashford's on 375, I mean, what on earth are they going to give these players? I mean, it's crazy. But listen, they've obviously gone down this route. They've not had a structure. I mean, this is because the reason they're in this position, I think we can all agree, because the last 10 years, they've had no structure at the football club. They've been a complete mess. They've been giving players contracts when they shouldn't have given contracts. They've been paying players too much money. Whereas clubs like Liverpool, clubs like City, they've had a structure with their wages. Now you've seen Liverpool break that slightly with Salah, but they've still had a structure. City have had a structure, and United have had no structure, and that's obviously down to the owners. It's down to the people running the football club, and that's why they're in a mess. And that's why Rashford's on 375, because they can't really afford to let him go. But he's not a £375,000 a week player. No chance.
He's a star man, but I'm kind of with you. But they're kind of stuck, Joe. They either lose him or they pay him this much money. What's your thoughts, man?
Yeah, I was just having a look. Big up to you all anyway. Thanks for having me. Sorry, I'm late.
Always,
I was just having a look. There's a site called Capology, right? It's brilliant, man. And it tells you all salaries and stuff like that. And it's all verified and all that sort of stuff. If you use FBref, you can get it through there. But I was just having a look, and like their biggest earners, like David De Gea 375, Sancho 350, Casemiro 350. Martial's on a quarter of a billion, 250, quarter of a mil, sorry, 250 grand a week. So isn't it right though that Rashford should get parity with them? I know he's been paid massively over the odds, and he's had one great season. They were battering him the season before. He might get that money and then drop off again, and they'll all be kicking off. But I think from Rashford's camp, from Rashford's perspective, when you're seeing people like Martial on more money than you, Sancho on 350, I mean, he has been an absolute flop, by the way. Like he was good in Germany, but I mean, I just don't see how he's ever going to get to where I think they'll need to sell him. It almost feels like Maguire. They'll just keep playing it for another couple of seasons and then realize, actually, we're going to have to move on from Sancho. Whenever I see him play, I don't rate him. I know this isn't about Sancho, but what I'm trying to say is, like with Rashford, I understand why his camp have got that money, but you are right. But listen, mate, at the end of the day, and I hate to spin this round, it's wild because it was only last year that Arsenal gave Eddie Nketiah 100 grand a week. You know, no, it's true though, Dan.
And Reece Nelson as well. He's on 100.
Yeah, and Reece Nelson recently. You know, there's Leeds fans because we had Eddie on loan going, should get Eddie on loan. I'm like, you do realize this guy is on 100 grand a week now. He's just, the money's gone mental, as we know. So it is what it is. But Rashford deserves parity with De Gea, deserves parity and more than Sancho. But yeah, it is a bit of a mad one.
But he doesn't deserve parity with Haaland.
No, he doesn't, bro.
Kevin
no, he
De
doesn't.
Bruyne.
Stick to Man U, though. Stick to Man U. Marcus Rashford.
No, I agree with you, LB, for sure.
He doesn't deserve parity with Varane and Casemiro, who've done it on the biggest stage. They've won the biggest trophies in football. They've won Champions Leagues. They've won La Ligas. They've done.
But again, that comes to structure, right?
So for me, they have. Go on. Sorry.
No, that comes to structure. What LB were talking about, because I agree with you, but they've also gave Sancho more than Varane and the same as Casemiro. So it's do you see what I'm saying though? So like, I get that your Casemiro, Varane have done it, they deserve it, etc. But did Sancho deserve that much money when he came in? I'm not too sure. So again, it comes to structure, and I think with City,
it's how they've done it. It's how Man United have played it. That's what it is.
Yeah.
Man United are just in a mess. Look at the state of them. Let's be real. Like they've still not got a centre forward. There's none that they've been linked with at the moment that look any half good. Man United have got gaps all over the place at the moment, and they've got players that they do not want. That no one wants. I mean, the reason no one wants them, we're in that position as well. Nobody wants Cedric. Nobody wants Runnison. Nobody wants Lokonga. Man United have got that with Fred, McTominay, Maguire. They've got the list of them as well, man. So, but the thing is with Manchester United is they've got many more holes than Arsenal, in my opinion, anyway. I don't know if you guys agree with that. Maybe I'm biased, but I look at Manchester United squad. I don't see it comparing to Arsenal's at all at the moment. I really don't.
I think they go backwards, Dan. I think they go backwards, and I think they'll struggle. I think, obviously, it's top 5 this year, isn't it? So it's a bit of a gimme, but I think I would be surprised if they finished not surprised, but they're not going to finish in the top 3. I don't see that at all. And I could quite easily see them going backwards. Obviously, they brought in Onana, so they're going to have to get used to properly playing out from the back, which they didn't really do that much last year because David De Gea didn't do it. They're going to have to be used to be pressurised from the opposition player. But yeah, on the wages thing, this is just accumulated over the last decade since Ferguson left, and the club has just been run horrendously now. The problem is the only way that you can sort these wages out is if you properly address it and say, right, the players that we're signing now, they're not getting these mad wages. But if you're signing Højlund or you're signing like a top talent, they're going to want the same as Rashford. So I don't really know if they can sort it out. I don't know. Is this them just like paying every player like 300k a week? How did they sort it out?
Can I ask you, though, LB? Who do you? Because I think we're being a little bit disrespectful to Rashford here, because he is a top player. Who do you believe he doesn't deserve parity with Haaland? I get it, and that's more so Man United's wage structure and not so much City's. But who are we comparing him to? Like, what should it be? What do we think he should be earning?
Well, I'm looking at his numbers, right? So last year he had a great season, yeah. Premier League, yeah. 'Cause I'm not looking at that Europa League nonsense. He got 17 goals, 5 assists. That's really good. That's really good, yeah. Season before that, he got 4 goals, 2 assists in the Premier League, right? You go before that, what's he got there? 11 and 11, good year. Year before that, what was it? 17, 19. So, you know, he's had a couple of good years, and then he really bombed, and then he's had another good year. Year before that, 7 and 5. So he's had a decent year, a couple of really good years, a terrible year, and then a decent year. I mean, it's not a world-class player. So you shouldn't be on world-class wages.
I'll tell you why I'm going to keep quiet, because I was muddied. I was giving it to Man United fans, and I was giving it about Rashford because I've never seen him as a world-class talent. I always thought he was a little bit overrated. I always thought he's a good player, not an unbelievably great player. Like, people were comparing him to price tags of Mbappe at one stage. I was like, let's calm down. This guy is not that great. And then he mudded Arsenal away at the Old Trafford and caught us on the break twice. And I thought, I'm going to shut up now. I think I called him Danny Welbeck, who feeds kids. So I got absolutely mudded. And yeah, I called him that on the football terrace, and everyone went mental and it went viral. And then he, like 3 weeks later, mudded Arsenal at the Old Trafford. But having said that, he had a great season, right? And I've never ever said that he was a shocking player, but I always thought he was a good player. But Man United, that's how backwards they've got. Rashford would never in the last 10, 15 years be one of Man United's best players. Like, that's how far they've fallen. Marcus Rashford is the one they're clinging on to try and give him some hope, because he's the only one scoring their goals. That's how poor they've been. So, yeah, this is great news for Man United, but let's actually look how far they've fallen. Manchester United were laughing at Arsenal because they thought they had a better season than them because they won a trophy and we didn't. How far have they fallen? Manchester United, when I was growing up, were crying when they didn't win titles. They didn't go for Champions Leagues. When they didn't qualify for a Champions League, it was seen as failure. Now they're absolutely laughing because they won the Energy Drink Cup. Let's calm down and realise how far they've fallen, man. Like, for me,
I think they did have a better season than you, Dan.
No, but LB, that's not my point. They've got a better season than this. If you want to go down that debate, that's fine. This is Man United we're talking about. This is Man United we're talking about.
Because they won a trophy.
They both got top 4 and one won a trophy.
I guess in the history books.
If that's what you want to go with, that's fine.
But Dan,
my point is not that, though.
So what you can then say, but you're right. Arsenal on an upward trajectory, and United right now are like, don't know what's going on with United. The finances are in the mud. The squad needs major work. So, you know, I'm not saying it to dig you here, Dan. I do think that they had a better season than you last year. In the history books, they won a trophy. You didn't. You both got top 4. But in the long term or the short term going forward, does that, will that really matter this year? I think
that's my point, LB. Listen, Manchester United, if that's a great season, coming in the top 4 and winning the Carabao Cup, they ain't the Man United that I recognised when I was growing up. And if they don't want to get back to that and they're happy with a Carabao Cup and top 4 and go running around roundabouts with it drinking Carabao Cup drinks, then go for it. But they ain't the Man United I recognise. That's what I'm saying. Listen, we're gonna break it because there's some breaking news which Joe is going to be all over. Sky Sports News have just announced that Leeds United 49ers Enterprise complete takeover from Andrea Radrizzani. There's nobody else to go to but just Joe. What are you telling me, Joe?
Yeah, well, do you know what, right? I've just been live. Amazing numbers. Like, we had like 1,300 in, and then as soon as I drop off, it gets announced that them numbers would have gone boom. I'm fuming. But we'll go live after people in the chat. We move. No, I'm absolutely buzzing, mate. Look, Leeds United, I know this is Premier League. I don't want to take up too much of your time, but
you go for it, man.
No, like, I'm glad, mate. And now, Ethan Ampadu, that's a deal agreed from Chelsea. I think he's a great signing for the Championship. To be honest,
18th club since he's been at Chelsea or something, isn't it?
Oh, it's a mad one. He's had three relegations on the spin as well. Sheffield United and then two in Italy. He might be an omen. But he's a good player. Glenn Kamara from Rangers, Nat Phillips from Liverpool, Emmanuel Dennis potentially from Forest, and Joel Pirot.
I like that Dennis, Joe. I like him. I've seen him a lot last year for Forest, and I thought he was a player,
Yeah, so
well,
I
at
think
Watford,
these
do you
are the
remember?
sort of
He's
signings.
banging in goals for Watford, wasn't he?
Yeah, he did, mate. I think he got 10 and 6 assists that season. Him and that Ismail Assar were decent, weren't they, at Watford? But do you know what, as well? Like, I think we're going to see money spent. I mean, I know it's part of an investment group, but some of the names that are in that investment group, like Michael Phelps, do you know what I mean? Like, this is... top notch. Jordan Spieth, Justin Thomas, a load of basketballers. I don't know enough about basketball, but what I'm saying is, I think in terms of being out there as a name, etc., it's going to be good for the American market, provided they get the recruitment right. We've just got we got that Nick Hammond in who works at Newcastle. We've just agreed a deal to get, and I don't know if this is a good thing or a bad thing because I don't know enough about him, but his name's Greta Steinson. He was at Spurs last season as a technical director. So we've brought him in, but he was at Everton before that. So I'm a bit like, maybe not so good. I don't know. We'll wait and see. But listen, it is what it is. I'm just happy, mate. And I think we're going to return next season and probably be better for it, man. So bring it on. I want some more City loans, but they keep going to Maresca at Leicester, LB.
Yeah,
it's not
they
nice.
do.
They're going to now, man. They're going to now. Joe, mum's in the chat, man, but loves you, Joe. She does. Absolutely loves you.
Nice.
Will you be back in the Premier League after just 1 year, Joe?
I hope we will, Mrs. Potts. And I love you as well. And next, when I go down to London, I will come and say hello. How's about that? We'll do that, Dan. But yeah, no, I think we will do, mate. I think we will do. But Leicester are making moves. To be fair, and they're signing a lot of. Prem rejects for me in Harry Winks and Conor Cody, but the loans from City are the ones that are exciting. Doyle, and I think there's some more names as well. I'd like one of my mates is like he's I call him a scout, but you have them football boffins who know everything about it and XG and all this, and then you've got the passion merchants like myself who don't really know jack all. We just scream and shout. But they keep mentioning Oscar Bob LB and a kid called Borges as well. These are names that have been mentioned.
Oscar Bob, that's the one, LB. That was the one you're talking about.
What a name, by the way.
That is a quality name, man. That is quality.
Mate, top players, bro. You'll be, Borges on the left-hand side is the one that will get you off your seat, but Bob is a very, very class player. I actually had a question for you, Joe. Well, two questions, actually. First of all, is the Leeds fan base overwhelmingly in support of this deal? And if there are some people that are not in support, why? And also, what's going to happen now with the structure in terms of the board? Are you going to get a new sporting director in, or is that too early? Do we not know what's going on in terms of that? Or is it going to be these people more like a Todd Bowley at Chelsea, where he was sort of running the show at first? Like, what do you know what's going to happen, or is it too soon to say?
No, I think what we did last time around, mate, is we had Victor Orta, and a lot of it was all on him. And Radvazani sort of stepped back and left him to take the reins. And we've left ourselves in such a shit show. Like, you'll have noticed, I'm assuming you'll have seen on Romano Twitter and whatever, that Aronson left on a loan, Robin Koch left on a loan, basically 5 loans for top players that we spent big money on. And there was a clause in their contracts that allowed them, if we got relegated, to leave on loan. Like, they hadn't even had to pay fees or all. It's been mad. So I think what the 49ers have realised is that they don't want it just on one sole person, and they're getting a lot of different people to come together. And I don't know how that looks behind the scenes, what you would call that, a recruitment team maybe, as opposed to, there you go, rather than just one sporting director. So like I said, this Steinson from Spurs is number one. We've been linked to another guy from Brentford. I forget his name now, but anybody who's been at bloody Brentford, I'm like, yeah. If you had been at Brighton, I'm like, yeah, I'll take you. You know what I mean? These are the guys that know what they're doing. And as for the ownership, I think the thing is with the 49ers, they've been actually there since 2018 and just increase the stake. So there are some that say, well, they were there when it was shit. So they still have some sort of say there. But we'll have to wait and see. Time will tell with any ownership, mate. I mean, we've been through the ringer. We had GFH, which were the only skin Arabs. That was a mad one. Yeah, we've had Ken Bates. Everyone knows about Ken Bates. He's up there with Ashley, that guy. So, yeah, I'm just excited, man.
Pete
But
was shivering then when you said that name.
Who? Ashley? Yeah.
I don't want to hear that name ever again.
Was he We Live the Dream guy? Or was that, who was that guy, John?
No, that's Rizdale. That's Rizdale. Yeah,
that's
he's
funny.
only
Whenever I see that video
man.
On Twitter, man, that's the funniest thing. We lived the dream. Did we
Man,
spend too much?
He had a
Probably.
marine. He basically had like a marine in his bloody in his office, and that man full on fish tank, and that the amount of money that man spent, honestly, Davey.
The big question that I've got for you, Joe, is that are you going to take Carl Darlow off our hands? That's what
I'd love Carl Darlow though. I would. Apparently, he's gone to America though, and people were saying we'd agreed personal terms, but apparently he's going on the tour. Is that not true, Pete?
Well, no, he played. He played in the friendly on Saturday against Gateshead. He's likely to be involved again on Tuesday against Rangers.
Is that just because Pope and that out back though, or what?
Pope had surgery on his hand straight after the season, and he's not back in full training yet. But apparently, we're selling both Dubravka and Darlow. They're both leaving. So we've give Karius a new contract. I think we've got Gillespie. I think we're going with those three. So the other two are being moved on. So look, with Carl Darlow, like he'll be perfect for you at the Championship. Like he
won the Championship with you, didn't he?
He knows how to get out of it exactly. But I think like what he needs now, he needs a team where he's going to play week in, week out. But the only problem is Mike Ashley, before he left the club, gave him a huge contract on pretty big wages. That's the big sticking point. As to we want to offload him, but it depends on the team that's willing to pay. You won't have to pay a huge fee, but it's whether you'll be able to pay the wages or even cover what he's currently on.
I think that I would take Darlow. I think he was on loan at Hull last season. He did well there. I think, like you say, he's got experience in the Championship, winning it. I think his options are us and Bournemouth. Now, he's not going to Bournemouth to be number one. They've got that Neto, haven't they? So for me, it's on him. Like, if he chooses Bournemouth, then so what? I don't want him, because for me, I think sometimes goalkeepers can get used to being number twos and threes and just think, do you know what? I'm going to pick up my wage packet and just go in and sit on the bench. But I think some will step out from that. Do you know what I mean? And say, do you know what? I want to try being number one, and he's got the opportunity to do it, hasn't he? So let's wait and see. But it's just exciting at the minute. I know it's the Championship.
Why does the chat want me to get locks on, Joe?
Oh man, he chats so much beans, that lad. He's a Leicester fan, man. He's a Leicester fan. He chats shit all the time. He keeps telling me, right? This is what he said, and he said this genuinely. He went, he's that Leicester side that Maresca's building are going to beat the points record, and that was set by Reading of 106. He said, they're going to do it, and he just honestly, some of the takes. I told him.
Is he saying it for banter though?
Mate. No, he believes it. Honestly, the guy's mad. The guy is.
I love looks. He's fun. He is funny, isn't he? I must admit, he is funny, man. He's a wind up. He's done it a few times, man. He's done it a few times. They're all like, "Get him on, man. Get him on." He's probably asleep now. Him. Listen, it's good news for Leeds. I hope Leeds go up, man. That's not just you, Joe. I didn't want you to go down. I did say that because I think it's good that Leeds are in the Premier League. But for me. You needed to sort stuff out, mate, and you've been run like a bit of a mess. Of been up and down since Bielsa's gone. It's not been good times, and I really did feel like you might have stood a chance, but you're down. That means you got to get straight back up. Daniel Farke knows how to get you up. He knows how to get teams up. You've obviously linked with some players now that will give you a good chance of getting up as well.
Yeah.
And I think, if I'm honest, all three teams that went down. I've all got a chance of going straight back up. The problem is, mate, it's the Championship, and it don't work like that. It is ridiculously hard, isn't it, to get back up? And anyone can beat anybody in that league, man. But it looks like it's needed to happen, this takeover, and now you can actually move forward. And it must be a bit of relief for you Leeds fans, Joe. Do you know what I mean? Because it's been a mess, hasn't it?
Yeah, you know it has, and like you say, I think with Daniel Farker and these at the helm, I think they'll go about it the right way, and hopefully, we'll return first time of asking. But like you say, the Championship, it's mad. It's 46 games. It's Tuesday, Saturday, so it's long, but we're in it, and hopefully we'll be out of it in a year. Can't be arsed with it. I've been there 16 years, been there, done that. What T-shirt? No more, please, thank you. Do you know what I mean?
Mate, listen, I know you're going to enjoy the season because you're a huge.
Yes, we're going to win some games, bro. We're going to win some games, man.
Listen, that's what it's all about. You get up as quickly as you can, man.
Yeah,
we're going to move. We're going to move to LB. What's going on with Mahrez, LB? Is he going? Are you gutted? And are you going to miss him, mate?
Yeah, I think he's going. Am I gutted? Yeah, I'm fucking proper gutted. And yeah, I think we will miss him. Severely underrated by pretty much everyone in this country. In terms of numbers that he brings, goals, assists, not Pete knows ball. He gets goals, he gets assists. He's great on the ball, touch is amazing. He can hold the ball. When you're under pressure and you need an outlet, just give it Mahrez. Very rarely loses it. Yeah, it helps your team move up the football pitch. And I think the fee is low. I know he's 32 going on 33, but I genuinely think the fee is low. I think he's that good. I think not asking for much more. I'm saying like 5-10 million, maybe more. But yeah, I don't think you're going to replace him with someone who's going to get as many goals, which is a problem because Jack Grealish don't get goals or assists. So you're going to get someone on that right hand side, unless he plays Foden on the right. He's the only player I can believe that can replace Mahrez's goals and assists. Bernardo doesn't replace Mahrez's goals or assists. He gives something else. He's very, very good, but he don't replace goals and assists. And, he's putting a lot of pressure on Haaland. You know what I mean? And I know Haaland's a freak. We all know that. But you got Grealish, you don't score. And if you have someone else on that right, who don't score, Kovacic ain't going to be scoring many goals. So you got Kevin De Bruyne and Haaland to score goals. I just think that he's going to go, by the looks of it, it's got to be Foden on the right, or if Foden wants to play in the middle, you've got to get someone who can score, man. That's my thing. But I'm gutted, mate. Proper gutted.
Let me pose a question to the three of you, right? I don't know if you agree with this, Pete. As a Gooner, I would snap him up tomorrow for that much money. I think it is ridiculous what he's going for. That is absolute madness. For me, he is superb. I've always loved him. I've always loved watching him. I think he's going to be a huge loss. If we're talking, and I said this earlier on Saeed's channel, and a few people in the chat were like laughing about it, saying that's a pathetic take. But I stand by it. I'll start with you, Pete. If we're talking about greats on the right-hand side in the Premier League, just the Premier League only, how many players get ahead of him? Because I don't think it's that many, and I'm not even joking when I say that.
Yeah.
I rate this kid so highly. He was unreal at Leicester, superb at Manchester City. What he has won, right, leaves players dead in the water that we're probably going to mention now and say, well, he's not better than so-and-so, so-and-so, so-and-so. He has won probably more than the people we're going to mention. Because you can bring up Cristiano Ronaldo, you can bring up Beckham, you can bring up Salah, right? For me, Mahrez, I'm not even lying when I say this, Pete. He's right up there for me, man. Yeah. Right up there.
I agree. I've said this before. He's one of the best right-hand sided attacking midfielders that I've seen in the Premier League. Easily, and I'm not going to get into names that maybe that he may be better than or that are better than him. I'm not going to get into that, but I've said it for a long time. It's been an absolute pleasure to watch him in the Premier League. Firstly, for Leicester, he was unplayable this season. They won the championship, the Premier League. The way he just destroyed teams time and time again on his own some weeks was unbelievable. Then he's gone to Man City. And the amazing thing about it is that he's adjusted to not playing every week. But whenever he plays and whenever he's on the pitch, he does the business. For me, he's got 2 more years in the Premier League doing exactly what he's doing. He does not look, LB, you might see something slightly differently. But at 32 years old, he doesn't look like he's letting up. He doesn't look like he's letting up. He could, for me, I think he's got 2 more years of playing at Man City and doing what he's doing and collecting more trophies for them, without a doubt. And
he's never a fast player, was he, Pete?
No, depends what
Fast
you
in
say.
terms of
Fast, I mean,
pace. Fast in terms of pace.
Oh yeah. But
Yeah.
he's never had to have that blistering pace. He's never needed it. But that's the hallmarks of him. That for me stands out as even more of a quality player. He hasn't relied on his pace to be good, but quick feet, tight spaces. That ability to whip that ball into the far corner. Like I always talk to some like Newcastle fans, and we laud Hatem Ben Arfa for what he did in that short period of time he was at Newcastle. Riyad Mahrez is what Hatem Ben Arfa could have been, in my opinion. Like he could have been that, but for various reasons he didn't achieve the level that Riyad Mahrez does. But Riyad Mahrez, that ability to just bend that ball into the far corner, left, right foot, equally as good. Honestly, I think it's a bad move. I genuinely think they're not my club, but I think it's a bad move letting him go because there are always moments in the season where Riyad Mahrez comes on and changes the game for Man City.
I think he wants to go though, Pete. I think he's got the Saudi cash.
I'm not surprised they're offering him crazy money, and I'm not surprised by that. But equally, Bernardo Silva wanted to leave last season. Man City kept him. So for me, I'm the same with Newcastle. I was the same when Dubravka left last season on loan to Man U. I was like, no, if you want to keep your best players, keep them. You're in charge. Tell them what's what. And then you let them go when you're ready to let go. For me, I think he's got another couple of years in the Premier League easily before he starts to slow down. He's a super talent.
I believe so as well. Joe, where do you stand on Riyad Mahrez as a footballer? I mean, there's names in the chat. Freddie Ljungberg, we've mentioned Salah, Beckham, Ronaldo. They're all greats, but do you think he deserves to be mentioned within those names?
I mean, they're big names, aren't they? They are big names as a top player. I think sometimes we can't appreciate footballers while they're still here, and maybe we'll look back in the future and just say how good he was. But I mean, just the career trajectory of the guy, really. I think when you think what Leicester paid for him, insane. To be fair, Leicester's recruitment at that time was unbelievable. When you think they got Kante as well, it's insane, really. But yeah, top player. Am I surprised that he's going to Saudi? I don't think so. I think he for me, remember we spoke about this Saudi weeks ago, and I said he was one of them names, like he's like a big draw. He'll be a king out there, man. You know, Riyad Mahrez, this is like
poster boy.
Yeah, poster boy. He'll be on all the merch and the big photos and everything, Will Mahrez. So I sort of get it. I get it. And why wouldn't you want to be out there to be lauded like he will and get that money as well? It's a mad thing. Like, I don't know if you've discussed this, but I was chatting about it today about that whole Henderson thing and how much it's like. There's like 700 grand a week for Jordan Henderson. It's madness. So listen, before like players would find different positions and maybe move to lower end Premier League clubs. Now the mad thing is they get the money now at the end of the career. Do you know what I mean? As opposed to at the start. But no, it will be interesting to see what City do in terms of a replacement. I guess LB will be able to tell us if there's any names like, but it's like with City, I don't know, they almost doesn't feel like a need to, and LB will be able to answer this. When a player says he wants to leave, or there's no worry. Let's say, for example, if Saka, there was this thing over Saka leaving, there'd be a meltdown. You know, there was this thing of, I don't know, Bruno Guimaraes leaving Newcastle, there'd be a meltdown. When it comes to City, Rashford at Man United, whatever you like, but when it comes to City, they just relax. Like, oh, Kyle Walker's got a Munich. It's all right, we'll buy someone else. And I don't mean that from a money perspective. It's more a case of like, I think it's because of Pep and because of how relaxed City fans are, and us as well know that it's not going to affect him because we just think it doesn't matter because he'll go and get someone maybe left field.
I think you're right, Joe, because City have a policy where any footballer that wants to leave, they can leave. They just have to bring the fee to the football club, and that is the rule. So, you know, you've seen players leave in the past. You know, like Sassani and that. Obviously, Aguero didn't leave for a fee. He went on a free transfer at the end of his career. So I think because City have been so open with it, it almost breeds like a little bit of calmness into fans. Because, as you rightly say, you know, I mean, if this happened at other clubs, they'd probably be panicking. But we've had this policy now since Pep Guardiola's been at the football club. Pep Guardiola, if a player wants to leave, no problem, you can leave. Don't care who you are. This is the fee. You can go. And I think because as fans we've adopted that over time. It's almost as if like, if Haaland was to leave, you know what I mean? It'd be like, right, it might be a little bit of panic to be fair on Haaland, but like you back the club, you back the club to have a plan. Do you know what I'm saying? And there's no reason really to doubt that because look at our success since Pep Guardiola's been here. The only thing I'd say about Mahrez, about going Saudi, is I thought he could have had at least one more year at City. The money for Mahrez is still going to be there next year, Saudi Arabia. You know what I mean? As people have said in the chat, he's a Muslim guy, which means, he's even more like going to be wanted over there because he can be like a poster boy when he goes over. They're not just going to go, oh, you don't want to come this year. Well, we don't want you at all. I still believe that they're going to want him next year. So that's the only thing for Mahrez for me. I thought, give us one more year, man, because as Pete said, it don't look like he's falling off. He probably has 2 years. Give us one more. City can sell him next year. He'll be 33. City can get 20 million, 15 million for him. And he can go and get probably the same amount of money there. But look, money clearly has an influence on people, even when they're rich. That's why politicians do corrupt shit. But that's a story for a different.
No, it's fine, man. Let me ask you this, LB, and I mentioned this earlier with you. I felt Liverpool fans last season were getting a bit cocky when you started to lose the likes of Sterling, Jesus, and Zinchenko. Arsenal fans are now starting to do that, saying, "Oh, Gundogan's going. Bernardo wants out. Mahrez looking like he's going. Looks like Laporte's off. Kyle Walker's going. They're losing 5 world-class players here. Have we got a chance of it?" The reason I'm not going down that road is because Liverpool did it last year and you just went, all right, then we're going to go and do a treble. I'm not getting cocky because it's Man City. And I feel like Pep Guardiola is good enough to either replace somebody in a position that he's already got, like you've mentioned Foden, or you can go and get someone because you're Man City and you go, right, Gvardiol, that'll do. He's better than Laporte. We'll go and get a right back, go and get a right winger. Let's go again. And I don't really know why Arsenal fans aren't going down that route. But I wanted to bring this one up, LB, because there was a question, and it was for Pete, but it's for both of you, really. Lee Farrell, big up, Lee. Potts, I have a question for Pete. Is it true Newcastle are making a bid for Napoli winger? Don't make me say the name. You say it, LB. You said it earlier.
Kvaratskhelia.
That's the one.
I was going to listen. Leeds were linked, and I've got it. Kvaratskhelia.
Oh, you know what? What the fuck is that? That's a different player, mate. Nah, that's a different player.
Nah, Kvaratskhelia is his first name. Kvaratskhelia. There you go.
That's a madness if true.
Yeah, true. But like for me, and Pete will come to the actual question in a minute. But LB, this would be a wicked opportunity for you, would it not? I mean, I know they're saying it's a lot of money, but what money are we talking for this guy?
More than Rice, in my opinion.
Really?
I think yeah, bro. It's Napoli you're dealing with here. This guy, I think, could be. I'm not going to say he is right now, but he's not. I think he could be a generational talent, man. You got to watch the way that he moves with the football. He glides around the pitch, man. Unbelievable. I think he's going to end up at like a Real Madrid. I don't think he'll go Germany. Not enough money there, or he'll end up at like a City, a Chelsea. Someone who's going to, or Newcastle maybe, if they can, get challenging for Champions League and that, somewhere that can pay him mega bucks, maybe PSG. Because I think in a year or two, if he keeps on going on this trajectory, man, he's so good to watch. The way he moves, man, very few people glide around the pitch. You know what I mean? He just looks effortless. I think he's great, and I'd take him in a heartbeat. But City don't deal with Napoli, and that'll be a British transfer record, 100%.
Is he doing it in the Premier League, or is he getting taken out and his legs wiped each time?
No, you can't say that. You can't say that, bro. Look how many players have been in this country.
No, I don't know. I'm just saying. A lot of people have said, "Is he going to be suited to the Premier League?" I don't watch him enough to know.
No, he'll be fine.
Okay, Pete.
What LB said. This guy is unbelievable. And to think that Napoli signed him last summer for 8.7 million, it's an absolute. No, we've been scouting him for a year. We've had
I think it was only due to the war in Ukraine, though, right?
He came from
Russia, he was over in Russia, right?
Dynamo Batsumi
Yeah, I
or
think
something
so.
like that.
Yeah,
He came from.
maybe.
Um, So yeah, like honestly, he is unbelievable. Like I said, we've had scouts that have been watching him various points within the season. Um, he's predominantly a left winger though.
Mm.
He plays on the left, and obviously Mahrez plays on the right. So it wouldn't be a like for like change, and it would put question marks about Grealish's position, in my opinion. But for me, like the way he glides, like at times the way he destroys players is like Messi. Like I'm not saying it's Messi's level, like I'm not saying that, but what I'm saying the way he destroys players, it reminds me of him. Which the way he plays, and if anyone watched the Liverpool game at Anfield, you would have seen the way he destroyed Fabinho and Trent Alexander-Arnold time and time again. I mean, gave him an absolute nightmare. Napoli are horrible negotiators, horrible. They don't let players go cheap. They've already said he isn't leaving the club for less than 100 million euros. I agree with LB. I think it's going to be more. The question you're going to ask me is Newcastle, is this link true? The link's bollocks. It's rubbish. It came from Italy, from one source, and everyone's just jumped on it. As they've done for a lot of Newcastle transfer-related rumours this summer. Like they've just jumped on it, or we're just being associated with the player. Do we like the player? Definitely. We've scouted him. We're interested. We've had links all this season, but we are not in a position to smack down 100+ million on one player. We're just not there yet. What I would say is that we are, if we carry on our trajectory, I think he could well be the next club he joins. We'd definitely be in the conversation in a year or two's time, providing that we make that trajectory. And I think he'd be the one player that we would break our structure for, because as for LB said, for me, he is going to be a generational talent. He'll be up there for Ballon d'Ors and stuff in years to come. He's only 22. He's got his whole career ahead of him. Can he do it in the Premier League? No doubt. The way he rides tackles and all the rest of it. He gets hammered in Serie A, but he gets back up and he does it again and he does it again. And he's got the right mentality for me to do it in the Premier League. And I would love him, and Newcastle fans would just hail him as a absolute god, I imagine.
I could never see him going Newcastle, Pete. And the reason I don't see him going Newcastle is because I think he's destined for like a Real Madrid or something like that. And it's no disrespect on Newcastle. I don't even know if he'd come to City. I just think he just seems like a potential Galactico signing. And I think
PSG, they need wingers.
Maybe he could go there, but who knows what he thinks about. I mean, I don't rate the French league at all. I think it's shit. No. But like some other people, but some people disagree with us. Some people are like, nah, it's still fine. So I don't know what his headspace is on that, but I just think he's just destined for one of those elite level clubs. And Pete said if he continues on that trajectory, well, if he does continue on that trajectory, geez, some player they've got on their hands, because he's top notch. He really is. So.
On Newcastle, Pete, you missed out on Maddison, missed out on Szoboszlai. There's rumours of Diaby. You've just spoken about the rumours with this lad. There's a lot of rumours, but not a lot of players coming across the line, mate. So what are Newcastle doing? Are they just playing it carefully? Are they just not actually in for some of them? Is it all just rumour? I thought you would have done a bit more business at the moment, mate, but maybe it's not time to panic. Where's your head at, bro?
I'm not panicking at all. Like, the window closes.
You said that deadpan as well. Like,
yeah.
Panicking. What you know about?
Why? Look, if we were sat here and this was 30th of August, you'd probably get a different reaction from me. I'd be like, "Fucking, we need to get a finger out. We need to get moving. Season's already started. Blah 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 blah. All the rest of it." I'll go back to this. I'll go back to last year. We didn't sign Alexander Isak until what? Just before the Liverpool game, which was the third or fourth game of the season. We were told our business was done, and then we go and do our transfer record. I'm not worried at all. The Maddison deal, interestingly, came from some Newcastle sources that he was ready to move to Newcastle. He wanted Newcastle first choice, but wages were a big thing. They offered him 170, 180 grand a week. our biggest wage earner is 120. We are sticking to our guns, and we're sticking to what we're going to pay a certain player. And I think this is where you might be thinking, Potts, and this is where a lot of opposition fans are thinking, oh, why are Newcastle not signing this player, that player, this player? We are sticking to our guns. The club is sticking to their guns. They're not breaching their wage budget. They're not going to overpay for players because everyone expected us to do this. Everyone expected us to do it in our first window when we first got taken over, and we didn't. Like this is what Newcastle are doing. We're going to build slowly. At points, we will in the future break our wage structure, and we will, pay more for wages and pay more for transfer fees. But at the moment, we're not doing it. And even with, it's different with Szoboszlai. Szoboszlai, it turns out he always wanted Liverpool. What Steve said when he was on turned out to be absolutely spot on. Is that Newcastle inquired, as did other clubs, but he was very clear he wanted Liverpool. I mean, who knew that he had like what Steven Gerrard tattoo on him, on his body? You know what I mean? Nobody knew that at the point. And when you hear that, you're going, okay, fair enough.
Yeah,
you're always going to Liverpool, and that's absolutely fine.
Does anyone know what that tattoo is, Pete?
I have no idea.
Seen it?
Apparently it's true. Apparently he does, and he's a Liverpool fan, and he's happy. He was always, that was the club he always wanted to go to. But in terms of other players, we're still negotiating. Harvey Barnes, if you ask some sections of the Newcastle fan base, they don't believe we're actually even in for it. They believe it's a smokescreen. And
do you want him, Pete?
That's been a key word. Do I want Harvey Barnes? I think he's a talented player. I think he'd improve Newcastle. And he'd improve Newcastle purely because he does what our wingers currently don't do. He scores goals in the city and gets assists. And he gets them on a regular basis. He got 13 goals, 2 assists in a relegated side last season. Like, that's better than most of our wingers have got in the last 2 seasons combined. So, you bring that into the team, you're improving. But there's also other players out there that we've been linked with that I think other parts of the fan base are really kind of interested in. Moussa Diaby is one of them. He's likely to go to Saudi as well, but Villa will be linked with him.
I want him. I love him.
We haven't, but this is the thing, and this is what I was saying to the loaded lads, is that we actually, if you look at it, we actually haven't had a direct link with Moussa Diaby since last summer. Like, every link has always been Arsenal and Newcastle, Villa and Newcastle. There's no been direct link with us that we actually want this guy this summer. And that's what makes me a little bit skeptical about it. But I genuinely believe that we'll be fine this window. I think we'll get 2 or 3 players in of quality. It looks like we're still negotiating for Livramento, who would be a brilliant addition. Hopefully he's over his knee injury. He'll be a future right back for England, no doubt about it. Like, he is quality, providing that he gets over his injuries. But it's about getting the deal over the line. And then I'll be honest with you, after that, it's kind of up in the air in terms of who we're actually going to go for, because the one thing that all the journalists are talking about at the moment with regards to Newcastle is no information's coming out. No information's coming out from the club about certain players. No information's coming out about bids being accepted. Even the Tonali stuff. The Tonali stuff came from AC Milan. It came from Italy. None of that came from Newcastle. Newcastle are being quiet and they're being deadly silent, but still going about their business. And it's almost a little bit exciting, actually, because we're going to get a surprise. I think we're going to get a surprise in the next 2.5 weeks. I think we're going to get a surprise as a fan base that we've done a deal and it will just be agreed, and the player's having his medical. That's what we're going to get. And for me, we've been linked with over 200 players already this summer, and we're already like mid-July. Like, for me, it all gets a little bit boring after a while, and it's just like, you know what? I want to see the business done, and I actually would just prefer it for Newcastle to go, yeah, deal agreed, blah, 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 blah. He's on his way for a medical, top. And that's where I'm at the moment. So, Kvaratskhelia, nah. Not for me, not this summer. And in terms of players, apart from Livramento, maybe Barnes, I can't tell you.
Where I see it is like, you can't move like City did when we first got bought, because times have changed. You know what I mean? We signed Robinho for 30 million quid. We signed Tevez for 30 million quid. We signed Sergio Aguero for 30 million quid. Like, These players in today's market, they're 80, 90, 100 million pound players. So, Pete, Newcastle have to be like cute in their transfer activity. They can't go splashing 60, 70 million pound on every player. And if you sign Kvaratskhelia, he's gonna demand that you do that. So the way I see it, and the way I say to Newcastle fans, and some fans might not know where this is, these Saudis ain't going anywhere. Just fucking enjoy the ride. You'll have some ups and you'll have some downs. But ultimately, at the end of the process, whenever that will be, whether it be 4 years, 5 years, 6 years, 10 years, Newcastle will be a team that's fighting for Premier Leagues and probably fighting for Champions Leagues. What you don't want to do, you don't want to start rushing things, going signing players for 80 million, 90 million, because that's what you think you need to do, and maybe some pressure from whatever. Because that's the wrong thing. Just keep, you're spot on, Pete. Keep the wage budget, keep a structure. What you want to see is not, maybe you're not going to get necessarily season on season growth, because you do have ups and downs in your seasons. We're probably going to see United have a little bit of a down based on where they finished last year. But so long as the 3 to 4 year growth is upwards, that's fine. And in 5, 6, 7 years' time, Newcastle will be fine. But they've got to stick to that process. And just, like I say, enjoy the process. The Saudis ain't going anywhere. And in a number of years, whatever that be, they'll be fighting for the Premier League. No doubt about that.
On 1 or 2 days after the takeover happened, I said one of the things that I said on our channel on Loader, I said the one thing that I didn't want for me personally, and what I didn't want for the fan base, is to become expectant. And I have the small sections, very small sections of the fan base, and now kind of potentially becoming expectant that they're seeing that no deals are happening, and they're getting a little bit, getting itchy feet. They want something now. They want it like yesterday. And it's like they're looking at all these players that other people are signing, Declan Rice and blah, blah, blah. And they go, I want that, because they know we've got the money. But I also remember where we came from and what we had. And yeah, we're always going to move into a different era of Newcastle. And I'm thankful for that. But at the same time, I'm with what you've said, LB, is that I'm enjoying the ride every second. Like, so you're never going to get me kind of frustrated or annoyed or pissed off because we're not signing a player in the middle of July. Like I say, we have the same conversation and we've only got Tonali 31st of August. You'll get a different me from that, and I'll be annoyed. But we're going to be absolutely fine. We've got the best people behind the scenes in Dan Ashworth, in Darren Eales, in Eddie Howe, that are going to bring the right players to this club. And Eddie Howe only wants a certain type of player. Attitude is key. Can he be versatile? And can he fit to a system of high press, high intensity? That's the type of player he wants. And if they're not the right type of player, he ain't even interested. And that's the thing. And then the fourth thing you can add to that is that he's not just here for the money. And that came true in what we've heard from a Newcastle perspective, is that was kind of the situation with Maddison, is it became about the money. And at that point, I was gone. Nah, not for me.
My big thing, Pete, is what happens with Newcastle this year if what I expect to possibly happens, and they don't finish inside the top 4. Possibly finish, maybe they finish 4th, maybe they finish 5th, who knows? But I don't think the top 4 is going to be guaranteed for Newcastle this year, and that's because I think teams will play different this year against Newcastle. I think they'll respect them more. That's credit to Newcastle for what they've done. I think teams will take you more seriously and really sort of defend deep. You've got the Champions League to deal with. You've got FA Cup, Carabao Cup, and I know that Newcastle fans are dying for a trophy, so I know Eddie Howe will have it on his agenda to win a trophy. And I just think, and this is where the test is. You know, I said you might not necessarily get season on season growth, yeah. But if you're getting that 3-year, 4-year growth is going up, then that might be fine. So if you don't, that'll be the interesting one for me. If you don't get Champions League football this year, would they pull the trigger on Eddie Howe, or will they go, no, we're going to remain calm, we're going to keep going on the trajectory?
I was gonna bring that up, Pete, before you come in on that, because Yusuf brought this in and says, do you think Eddie Howe will be at Newcastle in a couple of years? As expectations get higher, will he be able to fulfill those expectations? I'm going to say it now. I think Eddie Howe's going to stay at Newcastle for a while. I think he's quality. I can't even lie. And I know he's not Simeone, and he's not Ancelotti, and he's not Mourinho and all this, and he's not proven CV, but I think he's overachieved this season just gone. I didn't see Newcastle getting Champions League football. They got to the final of the Carabao Cup. I think they'll be fine if they keep Eddie Howe. And the way we've just been speaking the last 10, 15 about Newcastle in terms of not going out, blowing budgets, going mental with it, I'm not so sure the expectation will be that Newcastle go and win a league in the next 2 years for me, because the way they've got to go and spend and strengthen the squad and appreciate the teams around them for that expectation to be there. So it's fair enough saying that they've got billionaire owners now, but if they're not spending the money and splashing it crazily, then no one's going to expect them to. So I do think there's going to come a time where you do have to try and compete with the big boys, Pete. But right at the moment, I think this is early days, and I can see Eddie Howe being here for a good few years. I'm not going to lie.
I agree. I don't. There would have to be a serious drop off. There would have to be, for example, like a Chelsea like drop off, where the season Chelsea had last season, and we're not coming from that same trajectory, and from where they were in terms of fighting for the league's top four every year. But there would have to be that level of drop off for the ownership to consider Eddie Howe's position as manager. And even then, I think it would be through gritted teeth, because they are very clear that they want him for the long haul. They don't want to be chopping and changing managers. That was Chelsea's process, and it worked. 3-year turnover of managers, great. That worked. But they got to a point a year or two ago where they got through every top manager in Europe, and there was no one left, and then they ended up going for Graham Potter. And look what happened to them on the back of that. Newcastle looking for something more sustained. And as I said to you boys, and the last time I was on here, I said Newcastle want Eddie Howe to be that guy that gets us a trophy. I at one point a few years ago, I never thought in my lifetime I'd see Newcastle win a major trophy. Like, that's definitely changed now, and there's an opportunity for Eddie Howe to make that happen for Newcastle, and I believe he will. I think he just needs time. He needs time for us to build. We need to build off the pitch as well as on it. Okay, like Man City, you've got that sustainability, you've got that money behind you with the revenues and all the rest of it, sponsors, all the rest of it. Arsenal the same. We've got Peter Silverstone from you, Arsenal, from Potts, your perspective, who built your sponsorships, who built your kind of marketing. We've got him now at Newcastle, and he made you guys huge in terms of from a marketing perspective. He made you shed load of money. We've now got him at Newcastle alongside Eels and Ashworth. So we're building in the right way, but we need time to be able to build that, because we're not a 2, 3, 4 year turnover like Man City were before they won their first title. Ours is going to be a little bit longer because of the restrictions that are there, and that's just the reality. I'm okay with that, because look, I saw us win more games last season than I did like the previous 3 or 4 seasons before that. So you know, this is progress for me, no doubt about it.
Yeah, man. Listen, I think Newcastle fans are happy, and so they should be. Let's finish on Arsenal, because Balogun today rumoured that Inter Milan are going to pay 40 million euros for Balogun. Joe, thoughts on this deal? Because for me, this is a young player that has proved himself over in France. We've mentioned previously, as LB said, that is the Farmers League. Lacazette scored more, 27 goals. He got 22. I'm not going to sit there and say that this guy's going to be the next Thierry Henry. I'm also not going to sit there and say he's going to be the next Yaya Sanogo. So I want to get your thoughts on this one, man, and see where you're at, because Arsenal fans, some saying want to keep him. He's better than Eddie. Other Arsenal fans are saying 40 million for a player who's been on loan for 1 year and got 20 goals in France. Take it. Where would you be at, man?
It's difficult in it, because it's context in it, because maybe in a different time they would have preferred to have kept Balogun, but when you've give Eddie 100 grand a week, who's going to come and take Eddie? I mean, when did you? Would it have been a 4 or 5 year deal? I'd imagine at the time, maybe 4 years. So who's going to then come and give him that money? And so maybe it's one that they've messed up on. But again, I can't profess to have seen a lot of Balogun. I know he's, like you say, he's scored a lot of goals over in France, but who doesn't, mate? Do you know what I mean? I mean that with I reckon I'd go get a couple of hat tricks out there, to be honest. No, I'm joking. I'm rubbish, but I don't know, mate. In Milan, it seems a bit wild though, because for me, I always get the impression that Italian football clubs don't have a lot of money to spend. So the fact they're willing to spend quite, as their fees go, quite a lot, right? 40 million, you know, is expensive, like you say, for an unproven player. But I guess the thing is, with Italy, what we have seen in recent times is a lot more players from the Premier League going out there You know what I mean? And doing all right. I think Germany did it for a period of time, and I think Italy are doing it to an extent now as well, and giving them a chance. So, yeah, fair play. Good luck to the lad. But like I say, I don't think Arsenal lose any sleep on it. Arsenal, I just like Arsenal, Dan. You know this, so I like what you're doing. I love Declan Rice. Give me any time to gas up Arsenal. I don't mind them, mate. So. It's going to be a good challenge this season, LB. I'm telling you, the Sharks, mate, Jaws, and all that.
Well, it will, but with Liverpool, mate. That's
Oh, I know. I was actually watching that one. Actually, I think I always watch yours. I like to just
gets the Arsenal fans going. That, doesn't it, Dan?
Yeah.
I'm not gonna lie. I'm not gonna
For the
lie.
content. For the content.
I was asked my,
you know.
I was asked my top 3 earlier on, and I did say Man City, Liverpool, Arsenal as the top 3. I had Liverpool second. I did say that.
Dan, man, you can't have this.
I'm sorry that Dan, you know how much I bigged Arsenal up last season, but I just think Liverpool could well be back this year.
All I'll say is I agree with what you're saying in terms of Liverpool being back, but not on this transfer window yet. I've got to see what more they're doing because they ain't coming second at the moment. No chance. No,
I agree.
No chance. Not at the moment. They might do if they get a centre midfielder in that can actually defend. They might do because Szoboszlai ain't playing in the Vieira role. I ain't seen Fabinho being replaced yet at all, unless I'm mistaken. So if they got a 32-year-old Fabinho there, Jordan Henderson's still there. If they're going to Saudi Arabia, they need to replace them. If they do, then we can talk. Centre back. Centre back, that's quality, Joe. Centre backs, I'm still looking at Van Dijk, Matip, Joe Gomez. Please keep them playing. I give Van Dijk another 40 games this year. See if they come second. That's all I'm saying, man.
Is that wrestling? Is that LA Knight?
Too right, man. Listen, are you ready? Are you ready, Pete? Are you ready?
Well, let me talk to you.
Yeah, man.
Joe, I was waiting for the big point.
Oh, that's class.
When I go on a rant on my channel every time, I'm like, come on.
It works, man. It works. It's not getting old.
Yes.
But no, I'm serious, man. I know that people expect Liverpool to be back, and I think that they will be because I don't think they're done in the transfer window. But we actually have to see where they're at right now to know, oh, yeah, look, they've just bought Caicedo. They're going to be back. Or, wow, Mark Guehi and Caicedo have come in. Liverpool are there. They're thereabouts. But until that happens, I'm going to reserve judgment, man.
It's only a respect thing, Dan. It's not like I'm purposely digging at Arsenal or what other fans say it. It's not like purposely digging at Arsenal. It's just because we've gone head to head with Liverpool for 4 or 5 years. Arsenal bottled the top 4 2 seasons ago and then bottled the league last year. And last year was the first time you've been properly in the title race. It's too easy, this, man. Honestly, I got Joe laughing.
Dan, there's a new sheriff in town, man, and it's called Arteta.
I see Joe just smirking in the bottom
Joe
left
loves
there.
it. Joe loves Arsenal. That's what it is. And
Joe's he loves Arsenal, but when I'm going in like that, he's
loving it, man.
Because I can see what you're doing.
But listen, I get it as well because obviously you've got up against Liverpool. They've been there, they've done it. Jurgen Klopp been there and done it. All I'm saying is I need to see more from him in the transfer window to agree with it. I think they will do it, and that's why I believe they will be back. And I've said that previously as well. I said it to Pete and the lads towards the end of the season. I said they could easily be back. But in terms of the transfer window, Arsenal still need to do more as well. This isn't just Arsenal being miles ahead of Liverpool still, because I still think it's close. If you look at what we've done in the transfer markets, what Liverpool have, but we've got a couple of areas that we still need to strengthen. But I still think Liverpool do as well, man. I don't look at Liverpool and go, yeah, Van Dijk, it was just a bad year last season. He'll be fine for 40 games. Fabinho, keep him. He'll get back to his form. They need to replace those two, in my opinion, if they want to talk about a title. If they don't, and they try and rely on Kenyatta and Matip, or they try and rely on Thiago holding deep, or Harvey Elliott again, Bay Chetic again, they ain't winning the title. Not in my eyes. Not in my eyes.
Yeah. No, I don't know. I think it's going to be. You know what? I'm actually looking so forward to this title race and the top 4 race or top 5 race as it is now. I think it's going to be mint. You know, I think I'm looking. I don't know if you guys agree with this. I'm looking at probably City. not in an order, but I was going to City, Liverpool, Arsenal as your top 3 in whatever order. And then I think them other 2 spots, because there's 2 spots for Champions League. I just think you got Newcastle. I genuinely think if Spurs keep Kane, Spurs, I think United are in there. You know, who knows what's going to happen with the likes of like your Villas, who are making moves. Brighton, can they replace that? They might have a bit of a dip, but I just think it's going to be mega, mate. I'm really, really looking forward to it. And Chelsea, of course, everyone forgot about Chelsea, innit? Chelsea are coming back, so I just think this season is going to be class, man. I really,
I'm getting a mention, LB. Leeds not getting a mention. You know, give us a go. We might win the Carabao Cup or something. You never know. Europe, you never know. We'll see.
Maybe you will, bro.
Maybe you get a cup, man. Maybe you get a cup. Yeah. I'm looking forward to looking at these. I'm with Boyce. I'm looking forward to what Emery does with Villa. I think it could be a really good season for them. They're linked with some great players. I think he's got the pull. Emery knows what he's doing. Since he's taken over at Villa, they sit 3rd in the Premier League table. I don't really like stuff like that, but it does mean something. It means he's doing well with them, and he's taken them from 17th up to where they ended up in the 7th position for the Conference League. Probably favourites for the Conference League. I don't think Juventus are in it now. Someone was saying something's happened with them. I don't know. They're out of it completely, yeah, because they're just a joke of a club as well. But when you look at Aston Villa, I think Emery knows what he's doing to win that competition. If West Ham can win it, Villa certainly can. So they're the ones to look for. But I'm with LB. I think this is literally. I wouldn't want to bet the top 6 this year. I wouldn't want to get that right this year, because that is going to be ridiculously tough, man. That really, really is. And it's going to be hard. Manchester City, well, you know what they're about. Arsenal spent a lot of money, and that's where I want to end it. There's a couple of people in the chat that have said it already. Yusuf said it earlier on. What position will Arsenal finish, do you reckon? And also someone in the chat saying, what pressure is there on Mikel Arteta? Joe, let's start with you, seeing as you're bigging up Arsenal, mate. Arsenal this season, what does Arteta need to do for everyone to accept that he's had a great season? And what does a successful season look like? This is interesting. For
me, right? I watch a lot of content, and I think you can't get better content than fan media. I think this whole notion, and I don't know if you've also said this, you might have done, that if he doesn't win a trophy, he should be sacked. I think it's wild. And the reason I say that is because, and I don't care on money spent or whatever, Arsenal 12 months ago, 18 months ago, couldn't have even dreamed of being in the conversation of signing someone the ilk of Declan Rice, yet now they have. And the reason I say this is because only one person can win each trophy, right? And the facts are you're coming up against a juggernaut in City who's just won 3, yeah? So if you got to, I don't know, let's say 3 finals and didn't win one of them, okay, then maybe there's an issue, okay? You can't get over that final hurdle. But going toe-to-toe with Man City over 38 games is no joke. And like LB rightly said, there will be other teams involved this season. So you know, that's going to be difficult in itself. But are you expected to go and win the Champions League because you bought Declan Rice and Timber? No. Get to the latter stages, maybe, because English clubs always do, right? They always do. I guess I almost feel the Champions League cyclical as well. Spain had their time, Italy have their time, England have their time, and then it spins around, and then it's England again. You know, it happens. With the Premier League, look, 38 games, City are a different animal, plus the other teams. Carabao Cup, again, how many eggs does he put in that basket? You know, if you are still in the Champions League, if this and that, you're challenging. The Carabao Cup, yeah, you might miss out on that. But then, again, FA Cup, it could depend on the run. But let's say, for example, if you got to 3 finals and, pushed again, you miss out. Yeah, okay, I can accept that being a bad season. But I just don't think if you don't win out, there's this narrative that it should be sacked. Well, go get who? Go get what? Go do what? What's a different manager going to do that Arteta's not going to be able to? I guess it's easy to go, well, win. Yeah, but you're up against a juggernaut and an elite manager in a different time. Okay, I get it. But just because he's spent money and bought in, Havertz and, yeah, okay, that might seem a bit dodgy on the face of it, but Havertz and thing, just take yourself back 18 months ago, 2 years ago. And I know it's easy for me to say as a Leeds United fan, but take yourself back Did you even dream to be at this stage yet? All of a sudden, before the season starts, I see Arsenal fans going, if you don't win out, I want him sacked. I mean, you shouldn't even be having that conversation in the first place, because only 18 months ago, you were nowhere. So enjoy the ride. And listen, I see the chat like the process was pointless if you don't win it and all that sort of shit. And I guess there's something in that, but you can't always win. I know that might sound loser, and I know Arsenal are used to winning things, but you just can't always win. There will come a time, and I guess that's, for me, sorry, I know I'm ranting, but Arsenal have progressed, right? Rightly so. Like LB said, they bottled top 4, right? They progressed. They finished second. Yes, they bottled the league, but they had a very young squad. They were coming up, as like Big Steve said, LB said, against Sharks. And they were that, because they've been there, done that, wore the T-shirt. This team now comes on for that experience. And they may push City all the way again. And if they do, great. But you are up against City. You know, like, it's no shame to come second to that team. It's no shame. So, you know, let's not forget City won a treble. So you're going to... I just don't understand how you can say City, who arguably will go down that treble winning side as one of the greatest club sides ever when we look back. You're then saying the following season, if Arsenal don't win anything against that team, then Arteta should be sacked. I think it's unfair. And I think it's a bit like, maybe it's a little bit of, what's the word I'm looking for? I guess as a Leeds fan, I just wish I could have even a modicum of that success during my lifetime. So maybe that's why I'd be more appreciative. But I just think it's a little bit like, what's the word? Entitled to say that a guy that's... Go on, LB. Sorry, I've
No, I was just going to say, I think, obviously I'm not an Arsenal fan in it, so I can't speak for Arsenal fans. But if I was an Arsenal fan, for me, I think it'd be about the manner of how you lose this year. So
That's absolutely right.
If you get yourself into a position to win the Premier League again next year, which they did last year, and then bottle it like they did last year, questions have to be asked. I think if they go out of the Carabao Cup or the FA Cup against a weak side, and Arteta's played a weak side, again, I think questions have to be asked, because that's what he did at the Etihad in the FA Cup. And again, Champions League, you know, people say, oh, if he gets to a semi-final, that's fine. If he only gets knocked out in the last 16, then that's not good enough. Well, who's he playing? What about if you get knocked out against Real Madrid in the last 16? Is that not good enough? Like, so I think for me, you want to see, obviously, Arsenal there at the top table. You want to see them competing for the Premier League. You want to see them going far in the Champions League. But for me this year, what I want to see, as a sort of neutral, what I want to see from Arsenal is them taking everything seriously. And in defeat, when they're taking the L's, they're not taking the L's going, we just bottled it again. You know what I mean? We went to Manchester City in the FA Cup and played a completely weak defence because we didn't want to take the competition seriously. We bottled the league. We didn't take the Champions League seriously. We got knocked out of some team that should never have knocked us out. That's, for me, where I think that's where the pressure will come on Arteta. Because you are right. He's up against Pep Guardiola, probably the best manager of all time. Like, it's difficult.
Do you think, Pete, we repeat the season we've just had, title race, throw it away, go out to Brighton or a team like that in the Carabao Cup, lose to City FA Cup, lose to Sporting Lisbon-ish team like that in the Champions League? Pressure on Mikel Arteta?
I don't think so, personally.
If he bottles the league, though, again, Pete, that's 3 years in a row that he's bottled something.
Pete's like me, though, because he's used to the doldrums, man.
This, obviously, way back when LB was in that position too, but
yeah, exactly.
More recently,
You don't want to say that.
I was in a cop, man.
On the level, more recently, we have been in that position. Like, this is what we say to Lawless. This is where me and Lawless can agree, is that we've been down there. We've been relegated. We've had to fight and scratch for 40 points year upon year. And LB years ago, you were like that too. Obviously not now, but so from my perspective, I'm looking at that performance again next season, and I'm thinking, for the reasons that were said by Joe with regards to who it's up against your team, against probably the best team that's ever been assembled in the Premier League history. Like, you can't argue with that. but I agree with what you're saying. It's the manner in which it happens. From what Poch has given me as an example in terms of the cups and all the rest of it, yeah, I don't think he should. I don't think he should lose his job.
Even if he bottles it, though, Pete. If they get into a position to win the league like they did this year, that's 3 years in a row that he has bottled either the top 4 or the Premier League. That's 3 years in a row that's his fault. He's the manager. That's
so
clearly
LB,
a problem with him.
Let me throw something at you then, right? How many times have you had to defend Pep Guardiola and not winning the Champions League?
Yeah, but that's different.
No. It's the same thing.
No, it's not. It's not. The same thing,
I
Joe.
can see this make on your face. God, you
no,
know.
It's not.
It's the same thing.
It's not, because the Champions League is like a one-off game. You know what I mean? Like things can happen. You know what I mean? Tottenham Hotspur, there was a handball against Lloris and we had a marginal offside. Against Real Madrid, Ramos punched the ball in the penalty area. The referee didn't get it. It was the year before VAR came in. What I'm saying is, in the Premier League, if Arsenal get themselves, again, with 5 or 6, 7 games to go, and they are in the driving seat and they're 5 or 6 points clear, and he bottles it again, that is 3 years on the bounce. What evidence do you have that that's not going to happen again next year? At what point?
I agree with LB. I think there'll be huge pressure if this.
That's why I said manner. That's why I was saying manner.
I'm saying from my perspective, I wouldn't be questioning his job. But the bit that I was going to say is exactly that. Is that I think Arsenal fans will. I think Arsenal fans will be calling for him if that was to happen again. In my perspective, if that was me, if that was my club, if that was Eddie Howe that had done that one year to the next, like, I wouldn't be asking personally for his job. But I think the Arsenal fans, and that's the difference.
Well, that's a fair
because there are sections of Arsenal fans that are already putting that out there. They're already putting it out there. If we don't do this, we've just talked about it. If we don't do this, if we don't win this, if we don't do this, he's got to go.
There's always consequences. There's always.
As Declan Rice said, how pivotal Arteta was in terms of bringing him to the football club.
Yeah.
If Arteta's not at that football club, guess who he goes to? City. So what? You're gonna then you're then gonna sack Arteta? You're gonna sack him, and then what?
So my question would be, okay. So this is my question to you, because you've made great points about why you wouldn't, and LB has made points as to why there would be pressure. I think there would be pressure if the circumstances are we're bottling it again, we're going out to Leicester in the FA Cup, we can't beat Forest in the Carabao Cup. No disrespect to those clubs, by the way, because I think they're both great clubs, but there's just an example. So when is there an expectation that we can win a trophy then? That's what my question is. When is the expectation for Arsenal to win the league? Do we need another 5-year process? Do we need another £600 million spent? This is my question, because I think it's now that we are demanding we win titles and we win. Do you know what I'm saying?
Of course, the pressure's there, but not so much that you're going to sack him. But if that's my thing.
My thing, by the way, again, I've got to be clear here. I'm talking about the manner.
And that's what I am, LB. That's what I am, LB.
If they do well and they're in a race and they're never really clear, and City pip them and they go out against Liverpool or a Chelsea or a City and then they get knocked out off Real Madrid, then of course, I mean that shit happens. But my point is, if he makes poor decisions in the domestic cups which allow them to get knocked out, if they get knocked out of the Champions League against a side that everybody on this panel and everybody watching the stream and in the chat thinks they should beat, or if they get themselves into a position again to win the league and then they go out and they bottle it, that's where I think that you have to ask those questions. However, I would caveat that, and Joe's absolutely spot on, is who do you replace him with? Because it's all good. This is the easiest game in the world saying, get rid of him. But Joe has hit the nail on the head. Who would you get in? Because you want a project manager. That's the way Arsenal are going, which I think is the right thing.
The only thing I would say about that is if somebody does come in at Arsenal, don't look too bad, does it? That's all I'll say. It don't look too bad. It don't look, how the hell am I going to get these players playing? They're absolutely
It's an attractive job.
It's not a very unattractive job for someone. So I would say that years ago, it probably wasn't. When Wenger left, it was probably like, I ain't going in there, mate. Not yet. We'll give it a few years. Now there is a few years. I think it's very, very, very attractive. I don't want that to happen. I want Mikel Arteta to win everything at Arsenal, right? I want him
Bold claim. If you sack Arteta, you'll regret it, because he'll go get the Barca job or something and he'll win big things, and then you'll
maybe
be scratching your toes because you
will
want
go
and
and replace Pep.
and you end up with another dead manager.
He probably would be on the
honestly.
list for Pep. Yeah.
He'll probably be on the replacement to
Yeah, there
replace
you
Pep.
go.
But listen, it's all very negative, isn't it, with Arsenal? There's not many Arsenal fans I've gone that I've listened to, or not many football fans actually that have gone, do you know what? You're keeping Arteta, man, and you're going to win the league. You're actually going to win trophies with this guy in the next 5 years. Nobody's ever said that. Everybody's always said to me, when's he going to get sacked then? Because you ain't winning anything for the next 5 or 6 years. He's proven he bottles everything. There is also a positive to that. That actually thinks, do you know what? Declan Rice is one hell of an impact signing. Everybody's now gone, wow, didn't see that one coming. I thought Arsenal had a fluke season. That one puts them right back in the race. Kai Havertz, jury's still out. Timber, very, very good signing. Not many people are looking at Timber going, oh, I don't really think he's going to be very good. He's going to be a good signing. And like it's been said in the chat, there's a lot of people, Arsenal are not done. And I know for a fact they ain't done. But we are going to see outgoings first.
No, Dan, Arsenal are looking very healthy right now, and I think that you should be really optimistic about the season. The truth of the matter is, because of the way that your club has been over the last 10 years, everyone's just kind of expecting at some point, the wheels are going to fall off the Arsenal recovery train. And this is why I go back to why I think Liverpool are probably more of a threat, because they've done it for 4 or 5 years with Manchester City. And it's up to Arsenal and it's up to Mikel Arteta to get Arsenal fighting again at the top table in the Premier League and getting them into the last stage of the Champions League. And if he does that this year, then you can guarantee that next year people will take Arsenal a lot more serious. But the problem is people are not going to take Arsenal super, super serious off of 1 year. You know what I mean? And that's the truth.
Listen, I think it's going to be a great season in terms of entertainment. That is for sure. But this Premier League, people say, "Oh, is the Premier League still the best league in the world?" Come on, people. I think we've all agreed that it is compared to some of the others. We're going to leave it there. Absolute pleasure, man. That absolutely flew by. I can't believe that we're 1 hour 21 in. That's mad. Pete, plug your shit, brother.
Yeah, lots coming on. Loaded Mag, NUFC. Come and join us. A few shows this week, and then lots more next week and beyond. Transfers, Newcastle talk, the lot. Come and join us in the chat. Come and subscribe, give us a like, and help us out. And whilst doing that, make sure you get on to subscribing to this channel as well. On the rise again, I see Mr. Potts.
We're getting there, man. We're getting close to 11K, which is great to see. So make sure you can do that, people. But make sure you don't forget to go over to Pete's socials and to Loaded Mag. Great stuff over there. If you like Newcastle, for me, it's the #1 channel. So make sure you get over there and follow the boys. LB, talk to me. What you got coming up?
Yeah, so I do my daily transfer videos on my It's LB channel. The boys have been on. In fact, you're the only person who's not been on from this panel, Dan. So you need to get on the daily transfer reviews.
I've been on City Extra enough, but I need to go on to LB.
Yeah, you have. Get on the personal channel. I'll hit you up. But yeah, the boys have been on, man. Daily transfer reviews in the morning, and It's LB. So thanks for having me on again, man. Appreciate it.
Man, you're always welcome. You know that. Joe, how can people follow you, brother?
Yeah, I seen LB actually on Instagram the other day for the Football Content Awards, looking dapper in the suit, mate. I was going, go on, lad, man, smash.
I can pull it off once a year, mate.
The boy from Bolton did good, that's what it is.
Sure.
Just your football show hit 21K today. Absolutely loving life. Leeds United have just been taken over by the Americans. And listen, you've got to work hard. So after this stream, I'm going back live, people. So jump on.
Everyone needs to go over there, man, because that's a graft, man.
Yeah, man, it's got to be done.
Listen, you've got to get over to Joe and listen, man. Always love having you on, man, and love your content as well. And make sure that you all go over there now. We'll send them all over, man. We'll send them all over. Listen, pleasure having the three of you on. Make sure you all do me a favor and hit that like button. Press subscribe. Let's get us up to 11K as quickly as possible. We will see you next time. Take it easy. And as always, up the Arsenal. See you tomorrow, people.
Take care, boys.